Welcome to Daylight. Today is April 8th, 2026. We start with today's news overview. Terror attack on Israeli consulate in Istanbul leads to serious diplomatic tensions. Global oil prices plummet after a U.S.-Iran ceasefire. Reports suggest Iran's supreme leader is incapacitated. Americans face economic repercussions as businesses struggle with fuel costs. Tensions rise in Lebanon as violence continues. These headlines and more in today's broadcast. In Istanbul, chaos erupted yesterday as an armed attack targeted the Israeli consulate, where one assailant was killed and two others were wounded during a fierce exchange with Turkish police. The Minister of Internal Affairs, Hasan Oymez, confirmed that all attackers were Turkish citizens. This incident comes at a time of heightened tensions between Turkey and Israel, particularly following the ongoing conflict in Gaza that has severely impacted Turkish-Israeli relations, which had been thawing in recent years. The implications of such violence are significant, underscoring the fragility of diplomatic ties in a period marked by regional unrest. The attack occurred in Beşiktaş, a key financial district of Istanbul, highlighting the potential for civilian casualties in a conflict that has already been devastating across both Gaza and Israel. According to the Turkish governor Davut Gül, 2 police officers also received injuries but are reported to be in stable condition. The Israeli Foreign Ministry welcomed the swift action by Turkish security forces, emphasizing the need to bolster security around diplomatic missions. This incident is likely to aggravate tensions further within Turkey, where pro-Palestinian sentiment has increased dramatically in the wake of the Gaza conflict. Diplomatic responses are anticipated as global leaders urge for stability and calm to avoid further escalation in an already volatile situation. Shifting gears to the energy market, just 6 weeks prior, it seemed as if the world was swimming in crude oil, with excess supply causing prices to remain low. However, that scenario has drastically changed. A perfect storm of geopolitical events, particularly the Iran war, has disrupted an estimated 12 to 15 million barrels per day. Experts in the sector are raising alarms as market indicators reflect the reality of a potential fuel shortage. Andy Lippo, president of Lippo Oil Associates, expressed grave concerns, suggesting that if we continue down this path, we will run out of fuel. The futures market is exhibiting classic signs of backwardation, a signal that traders anticipate severe long-term supply challenges. For instance, the West Texas Intermediate WTI crude fell to about $91 a barrel, reflecting this turmoil, while the spot price of Brent has surpassed $110, forcing nations to grapple with considerable economic adjustments in their fuel expenditures. Reports suggest that the average American is now spending approximately $830 million more each day on transportation fuels compared to pre-war levels, a statistic that throws a stark light on the war's economic impact. As airlines succumb to fuel challenges, with United Airlines announcing a schedule reduction of 5%, the potential for broader economic ramifications heightens, especially during peak travel months. The situation is dire, with nations like Saudi Arabia imposing record premiums to export crude, and countries in Asia beginning to ration fuel. In Iran, reports emerged late yesterday regarding Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei, who is reportedly incapacitated and undergoing medical treatment in Qom. The leaked diplomatic memo, which references both American and Israeli intelligence, suggests that Khamenei has been unconscious and unable to participate in crucial regime decision-making. This development raises critical questions about the power dynamics within the Iranian government, as speculations about potential leadership shifts arise amidst an ongoing war that has tested the regime's stability. Iran's officials insist Khamenei remains in control, but a lack of public appearances has led to doubts about who might be orchestrating policy and military strategy in this tumultuous period. The urgency of securing diplomatic negotiations intensifies given the turmoil surrounding the leadership, raising uncertainties about Iran's future direction in both domestic and international landscapes. This highly precarious situation in the Middle East is also reverberating within the American economy, with many businesses beginning to pass on the costs of rising fuel prices to consumers. Companies across multiple sectors are looking to balance their operations amid escalating logistics costs. For instance, jet fuel prices have surged by nearly 95% since the onset of the conflict, prompting airlines to introduce additional fuel surcharges and higher checked baggage fees as they look to manage this economic crisis. Such measures are seen as necessary, especially for airlines who are enduring significant operational strain. Companies like United Airlines and Delta have already begun to raise their prices in response to soaring costs. The ripple effects of these increases will be felt across the economy, potentially leading to inflationary pressures just as consumers begin to recover from previous economic downturns. This unsettling environment is further complicated by the ongoing war, directly impacting employment and consumer spending, critical components heavily relied upon for economic recovery. In Israel, conflict with Hezbollah continues unabated. Despite a ceasefire agreement between the U.S. and Iran, Israeli military operations remain active, especially following Iranian missile strikes on northern Israel. Iran's military threats still loom large as they maintain readiness to respond aggressively to perceived Israeli provocations. This convoluted dynamic underscores the fragility of the truce and raises concerns about whether true de-escalation can take place in the region. Further complicating the ongoing scenario are reports of alleged involvement from Russia in providing Iran with intelligence on Israeli energy targets, data that could turn the tide of conflict further afield. In a troubling turn of events, the Iranian military has struck a gas processing facility in Abu Dhabi and launched several attacks on U.S. bases in the Gulf region, showing that even as dialogue attempts to materialize, military exchanges persist, fueling skepticism regarding the durability of the current ceasefire. In a significant diplomatic pivot, a ceasefire agreement between the U.S. and Iran has arrived, brokered through negotiations with Pakistan, allowing for conditions under which the Strait of Hormuz may reopen. Nonetheless, the truce appears to be precarious. Each party expresses skepticism about the other's long-term commitment to the deal. Even as President Trump champions this development as a diplomatic triumph, Iranian officials remain cautious, warning that the war's broader conditions have not dissipated. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has taken proactive measures to further discussions between both nations, indicating a possible negotiation round in Islamabad this coming Friday. However, the delicate nature of current developments raises fears regarding what will transpire during this ceasefire window. Predictably, stocks rallied significantly following the announcement. Financial markets responded positively, with oil prices dropping sharply as traders anticipated an easing of supply constraints. Yet doubts remain about the sustainability of the ceasefire, and energy analysts warn that lasting damages may continue to plague supply chains and inventory levels across the board for some time. Meanwhile, in Hungary, Vice President J.D. Vance's visit has stirred controversy as he accused the EU of election meddling during an election season crucial for Prime Minister Viktor Orbán, who is facing a fierce challenge. Vance's remarks come at a critical time when Hungary's relations with the EU have reached a steep decline due to several political disagreements and the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. Such geopolitical tensions amid Hungary's elections could also steer the political landscape, embodying the global implications of local elections. As the ceasefire takes shape, global security dynamics shift, with concerns escalating over control of nuclear capabilities in the region. The potential for nuclear escalation in the Middle East cannot be overstated, particularly as both Israeli and Iranian infrastructures remain vulnerable amidst ongoing skirmishes. Discussions about non-proliferation are increasingly urgent as the region faces the dual threats of military incursions and nuclear proliferation. As regional tensions remain high, moves from nations like Italy to condemn potential military actions reflect an essential perspective on human costs in this complex geopolitical chess game. The repercussions of such a volatile environment are likely to resonate far beyond the Middle East, not just seen through the lens of military doctrine, but also through a humanitarian perspective. And now for today's reality check. As we conclude today's broadcast, the stakes regarding the situation in the Middle East and the broader implications of war cannot be overlooked. With millions of lives hanging in the balance and economies trembling under rising fuel prices, The ongoing discussions between the U.S. and Iran under the newly brokered ceasefire introduce a glimmer of hope amidst turbulence. However, the fragility of trust between the parties paints a precarious picture as historical patterns continue to repeat themselves within the realm of international relations. The consequences of these conflicts will echo through future generations, shaping not just regional but global dynamics. Thank you for tuning in to Daylight, and we will see you next time.